That is a wheel that does not want to conform to the rock. Today, we're gonna fix that. So it's one of three things. The tires are too stiff, which I don't believe to be true because these come highly recommended. They're the little guy racing parts Swamp Kings. It's the foam on the inside, which is possible, but when I press, it feels relatively squishy. Or it's the weight, and I don't really think that's the issue. So my guess is the truth is somewhere in between. It's some combination of these. But to figure this out, we're gonna apply some different weights, which are these Injora brass weights. The only thing that is challenging about this is that this would actually increase the offset by about 7 millimeters. And we already have some offsets built into this Trial wheel. So we're gonna have to deal with that. And there's some hubs that came with this that we'll need to swap in. And then we'll put the new brass weights on and we'll see how the little rock conforming test works. And as one other little scientific test that's not so scientific, I'm gonna put one wheel up on this and I'm gonna see how much it weighs. I don't know if this is a real way to look at this at all. This doesn't seem very scientific. Can't control for the way in which it's positioned necessarily in a consistent way, but hey, there's our number. It says 73. We're gonna see if we can get it to weigh a little bit more. Alrighty, let's get a tire off and let's do a test here. We've got this little offset inside of here. There's another set that it comes with, this right here, that we're gonna swap in. That should reduce the offset from this rim, or tire, wheel, whatever it is. It should reduce the offset from this wheel that we're then going to add back on with these brass weights. As always, we'll do a test to figure out how much this weighs and then figure out how much weight we're adding. We start off with 43.8, and as a test for the entirety of the rig in its current state, 389.9. Alrighty, let's get to work on this wheel. First things, take that hub off and pop that new one on. Hub we're taking out, which is a 7 millimeter offset, and we'll measure that new offset at 8.1. So a little bit more. Maybe that's not a fair comparison actually, because this needs to go onto here, directly onto that axle stub. I'll try to pop this on so we can use that pin. All right, so when that gets on there, that's actually gonna take the place of the piece that was there before. So maybe we don't actually lose that much in terms of, yeah. We may not have actually lost that much space. So maybe not a perfect comparison here. Stub was about 4 millimeters of space there. 5. Okay, so it takes up about an extra millimeter there. So an extra 1 millimeter. We previously had about 5 millimeters of space left on the axle stub. We now have just 4.4. So we really only expanded out about 0.4 millimeters by adding this brass weight on here, which means that I actually could keep these old larger hexes on there and it might do, it might be fine. So actually I think I'm gonna stick with that so I don't have to swap all of these out. I wasn't necessarily upset with the existing stance of it all. And if I'm only adding an extra 0.4 millimeters, I'm not super worried about that. So I'm gonna put this back on to this wheel, which will make my life a whole lot easier because I don't have to take all these off. And these ones in particular were kind of a pain to take on and off. All right, so this was the plastic piece that we took off, which weighed literally nothing. Here's our tire, which should sit around 43.8 or 43.7, I guess, depends on the scales today. And then here's the brass weight that we're tacking on. Now we're up to 50.6, so getting nearly an extra 7 grams, which is what they advertise. So, and let's see if we have solved our squish problem, our tire conformity issue. Something tells me no, but we'll see. First things first, the not so great test. What are we up to now? 98.3, 99, 100. That's pretty good. Now let's take a look from the side. All right, so we're down here in the action, and there's just, like, that's what I would hope to see. And this is what we're getting, which there's just so much spring in this tire. It doesn't feel like it's the foam, but it's just not enough, right? And even if you do one, it's still just, it's not wanting to squish too much. There's maybe a little there, so in this position, like maybe we get some. I don't see how, even on the sharpest of sharps, the most pressure on it, right? And like you just have to put a lot more weight on there, and I don't think that's ever gonna happen. So next step is not to swap the tires out, but to go with something else. Silicone inserts. Who knows if these are any better, but it feels like the next logical step to try outside of some other things. But these are from Injora. They were like 10 bucks on Amazon. We'll see if they're any good. They look cool though, that's for sure. Back off the wheel comes. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and take this off. So here's the insert that was there before. Here's the new insert. From the sidewall perspective, this is gonna offer a ton of support, whereas these didn't offer any. From a vertical compression standpoint, I mean, there's not a good way to apply the same amount of pressure to each at the same time, but these feel too big to fit in there, despite them being the correct size. And these just seem like they're softer. So we'll try one of these and see how it goes, but I'm honestly not that impressed. I think we might be, this might just be more of a tire issue than anything else. Like the sidewalls are just a bit too strong. So we'll pop it in, we'll see how it goes. That's in there, and I gotta say, this already feels way more firm than what we had before. Like a lot more firm. I mean, it might be because the sidewalls are just so stiff now, but this is not gonna do anything for this tire. This is gonna be a waste of my time. But hey, we're here to experiment and try things out. So let's give it a whirl. There we go. Not even sealed up properly. And that is stiff as it can be. That's not gonna do anything. These are way, way squishier. So I think the soft foams is the way to go, or taking the foams out altogether. So maybe as a quick little experiment here, a final test, if we will. We're gonna run this tire without anything inside of it, which would just be the most hilarious outcome because it would be the cheapest. Not that foams or silicone inserts are particularly expensive, but just because why spend money on something when not spending money has better performance? But we'll see, we have to test. And so again, we will use the not so scientific squish test on the rock, and we'll see if we can even get these things to compress. All right, that's nothing in there. That's an empty tire. And this is what we're working with here. You can get it to squish. It's not great. I mean, that looks pretty good right there, right? Like that's great. So maybe we just need to put the bead lock on and see how it goes. Here we go, moment of truth. Let's test. I mean, it seems moderately better. Nothing like crazy, like nothing like that, right? Or like this, where you're like, oh wow, that's a good amount. But it's better. I might run this for a couple days and just see how it goes. Super stiff, decently soft. This might be the way to go. We'll have to test it and report back. All right, so I've had a chance to play around with this tire having lower or no foam in it, plus that new weight on there to see how it performs in the real world. Got a bit of a problem. Let me see if I can illustrate real quick. I don't know if that's super discernible. At the lower speeds, if I got a 50% throttle here, see if we can hear it there. There we go, it binds. So what I believe is happening is that the brass weight here is rubbing on the brass knuckle. And they're both Injora parts, so I would have expected them to work together. So you can see where it's rubbing right there, and right here. I think the quick answer is just to kind of shave that down a little bit and see if we can reduce some of that rubbing. And that feels a lot better. All right, we'll put the wheel on. We'll see if we can get rid of some of that stuttering. We got rid of it. Time for the weight test. As a reminder, we started off with 390 grams. Let's see what we're weighing in at now. 416.5. So bumping up 26.6 grams. So we expect 28. We got 26.6. I don't think it's that big of a deal. We also shaved a little off, right? So then here's our ultra scientific test. 91 grams on that side, about 90 grams there. In the rear, 96. And about 90 there. So about like 90 grams of pressure per tire, which I don't think that adds up to 416. For sure does not. But an interesting test nevertheless. We'll see how it performs on the courses. But yeah, all in all, relatively easy upgrade. All right, we've got some decent compression in the tire right there. You can see as it goes up and over this right here. Oh yeah. Which has been great. I don't know if I would have gotten up and over this if I didn't have that. Although now we're running into an issue with the motor not having enough power. There we go. And we've high centered. Let's see if we can get out of it. Oh no, it's not looking healthy. There we go. Get that back tire up. And we got out of it. All right, so normal crawling, like we're not seeing any difference here in terms of the tire like compressing or anything, but then when it comes time to go over obstacles, it's actually looking pretty good. Bye-bye.